Say that other thing you say, Rob. You know, the yeehaw.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God! There's gold in them there walls.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Koth Corner. With 2025 drawing to a close, we can look back on this year as a year of highs and lows. In my case, mostly lows. Today we'll be looking at Season 8, Episode 6, After the Mold Rush. Now, full stop. I never liked this episode that much. I saw it when it first aired back in December 2003. I was just a few days from turning 13, and my Oogle junior high self could only find frustration with how Hank was unfairly treated. Now, I wouldn't have thought to revisit this episode in depth, at all, but given my current situation, I felt that this episode was a good example of how art imitates life. You see, a few weeks ago, I discovered a slight discoloration on my kitchen island that seemed to come from nowhere. And well, bada bing, bada boo, in just a few days, our entire house's floors are torn up, and my family was living in a hotel off of the 635 for a few weeks. As I began to write the script, I was still a resident of the, Residence Inn. How did we get there? Well, let's take a look at how Hank got there too. The episode starts at the good old Megalo Mart, where the guys are with Hank shopping for,
Handle bushings.
I don't know what that is. But Dale is a big disappointment at not being excited over it. While checking out, Con happens to be there and reminds everyone that he's a jackass.
What were you doing in plumbing aisle? Need new crescent moon stencil for outhouse? Ma-ha-ha-ha!
Okay, at this point, Con isn't even trying. Obviously, Hank has indoor plumbing. Hank mentions he's doing some home improvement, and Con mentions the Arlen Parade of Homes. So clearly, Con's presence here was only needed to introduce this plot device. Hank gives a little bit of history on his home and its builders, and their connection to Texas history, and decides that he would like to get in on the parade circuit. I wonder if there was some sort of vetting the parade runners had to go through. Do they not come by and see the home first, or can anyone just enter? Either way, off-screen, Hank is accepted and is already looking for ideas on how to decorate the home, including the placement of his boot remover that belonged to a Texas revolutionary that only appears in this episode. When they get to Bobby's room, he has it decorated with all of the Bobby flair we know and love, including his troll dolls.
No flash photography on the trolls, please.
Hank gets the idea that the trolls would look better in a display case.
With solid wood doors, so people won't be tempted to steal them.
So Hank installs a cabinet above Bobby's bed.
Can you hammer in a nail with a single blow?
This isn't a circus, Bobby. But I could.
Well, that explains the whole TRT business.
If you want me to hold it tight, say T. If you want me to hold it real tight, say RT.
All right, T.
And later that night, he wakes up the entire house.
Oh, Bobby, you'd had such a good few years.
Aw, poor Bobby. Bobby tells him that the leak is coming from the wall. Bobby manages to save his dolls, and Hank opens up the wall to see where the leak is coming from.
Oh, what kind of a sick bastard runs a water pipe through a stud without installing a nail guard?
I don't know.
Well, Hank, according to a quick Google search, it's the kind of sick bastard that wasn't building up to proper code. The next day, the water damage adjuster comes by and notes that the damage is minor.
Yeah, at Lone Star Home and Casualty, we see some doozies. The Matthew McConaughey water weenie claim comes to mind.
Okay, I did a quick Google search on this one too, and the only thing that comes up is a story of Matthew McConaughey getting arrested in 1999 for playing bongo naked in his Austin, Texas home while drunk and high. Maybe he was reenacting his 1992 gig on Unsolved Mysteries. Anyway, the adjuster confirms that the damage can be fixed before the parade and that the insurance must use a licensed and bonded contractor, so Hank can't fix it himself. The adjuster also asks if Hank would like a free mold inspection too, which is prudent after any type of water damage. Hank agrees, and Bobby asks if he needs to file a claim for his dolls. Hank hints to the guy to murder them, to which he silently agrees. Sometime later, Hank is doing the work of the contractors while they read one of Bobby's magazines. At least I hope they're Bobby's. While Hank works away, the mold guy comes in and quickly tests for the mold and leaves. Later that day, Hank and Peggy are staking out other homes in the parade and are stalking out a lovely McMansion. Also, I may just be thinking aloud here, but is that ladder going up to the two-story window supposed to be a morbid reference to the Lundberg baby kidnapping? Anyway, the owner of the home sees them and the two of them begin speaking about the houses. The owner laments that once you own a home, the work needed to maintain it is never done. Amen, brother. And Hank says he loves it. Back at Hank's house, they finish painting the repaired wall in Bobby's room.
Let's enjoy it now before Bobby puts up that poster of babies dressed as strawberries.
That sounds adorable! Peggy sees someone come up to the house and assumes it's a looky-loo for their home. Hank goes out to greet him and begins to describe his home, but the man states he was sent from the insurance company.
Hank Hill, what can I do for you?
You can put your hand down and step 2 feet away from me. You may be contaminated.
What?
Your house has tested positive for mold.
Ah!
Yeah, you might not want to take such deep breaths.
And Hank finds out his house has mold. Oh boy. Hank practically hyperventilates over the news as the mold guy, yes, I'm calling him the mold guy, voiced by Chris Elliott,
Here. Oh, take my hand. Ah, come on.
takes a small sample of the wall. Okay, how did he know to look right there? I may be wrong on this, but a telltale sign of mold would first be discoloration, and that wall looked pretty okay to me. Either way, the sample he takes out has mold in it, specifically the Aspergillus genus that is commonly found in homes. While mostly harmless, it can cause adverse health issues with people that have weakened immune systems or lung problems. Not really something that's too detrimental to the hills.
You're lucky you caught this leak early before this mold really spread.
I've got green stuff inside my walls, and I'm lucky?
You know, for someone that's as handy as Hank, he should know that mold is a common issue for homeowners, especially a home in central/north Texas where humidity is like our life. And the fact that he caught it early from the initial leak, well, yeah, you are lucky. When I noticed the discoloration on my kitchen island getting bigger, my husband pulled out the wall and, well, my worst fears were realized. There was indeed mold in a cracked pipe. I took a deep breath and realized it was going to be a rough few days. Oh, if only. The plumber recommended a water mitigation company, and they were at my home within the hour. And after calling my insurance and telling them what they were going to do, by that night most of my living room area was torn up. I woke up that morning with an intact living room and went to bed without it. Anyway, Mold Guy tells Hank that his company will take care of everything and that insurance will cover. As he puts it,
Everything from frictional irrigation with a concentrated chlorine solution to forced atmospheric dehydration.
So wait, you're saying you're gonna rub it with bleach and then blow it dry?
Well, in layman's terms, yes.
sounds simple enough to me. Even Hank thinks so and offers to do it himself, but Mold Guy tells him that it must be done by a certified professional, otherwise insurance won't cover it.
Look, unless the job is done by a certified mold expert, such as myself, your insurance company will drop you like, well, I drop this, but then there'd be mold on your floor.
Well, diphthong, considering you discovered the presence of mold in the first place through air particles, there's probably already mold residue on the floor. Anyway, I find the insurance issue funny because if all Hank is doing is getting bleach and a fan, what expenses does insurance need to cover? Peggy insists that they move forward with it, and Hank just wants to make sure it'll be taken care of before the parade of homes starts. Mold Guy assures him it will.
I should have it calling me Daddy in no time.
Ew. Peggy asks if they're okay to stay in the home, and Mold Guy has an answer for everything.
Okay. Well, that's a medical question, Mrs. Hill. I'm not a medical doctor. Now I'll need you both to sign this waiver, which certifies I've informed you that's a medical question and I'm not a medical doctor.
Oh my goodness, I think they just signed their lives away. More on that later. Later that night, Peggy works herself into a frenzy over the possible side effects of mold.
Mold has been known to cause itchiness, asthma, chronic fatigue, and disorientation. Bobby, quick, what's your middle name, huh? When's my birthday? Here, follow my finger.
Your birthday is... I don't know.
Hank, the mold's got him.
Help me, Dad!
Will you two just calm down? Now, it's just a little patch of mold. We'll let Holgan do his job and everything will be fine. And the boy never knew your birthday, Peggy. He always just piggybacked on my card.
Damn, Hank. So the next day, the people come in with their big fans. Dale is being Dale and wearing some sort of breather bag filter, and Hank tries convincing him that everything is fine.
We're perfectly safe here in the alley. Heck, we'd all be perfectly safe if we slept in Bobby's room.
Sleep over? I'll get my jammies.
Don't let him in, Hank. With his foot fungus, he'd just be tracking more mold into the house. That area between his toes is as rich and fertile as the Nile River Delta.
Gross, but a nice callback to Leanne's saga, where it's shown that Bill gets foot fungus if he's not taking his medication. But he can't take his medication and consume alcohol, and since he's clearly drinking here, it makes sense he still has it. Then Con decides to be a jackass once again.
Attention! Mold patient 0! I knew your house not good enough for Parade of Home. Maybe next month, Parade of Toxic Waste Dumps.
Why did Con need a megaphone at all? He's spoken to Hank from that distance before. No megaphone needed. I'm going to assume he purchased that megaphone on a whim and finally found a humorous use for it. We then find out that Hank's home still tested positive for mold, a different infestation than the one caused, quote-unquote, by the leak.
The latest sample from this room showed an airborne mold level of 500 parts per cubic meter.
He starts using another tool to poke holes in the wall until Hank tries to stop him, but Mold Guy tells him that insurance requires that airborne mold samples match the levels outside. We get another funny moment from Peggy.
400? Bobby, quick, get inside! No, I mean stay outside! Get in the car and turn on the air conditioner now!
Mrs. Hill, it's okay. 400 parts per cubic meter is like a fly speck in a big gulp cup.
Yeah, what is the problem? Hank, tell this dude to GTFO. But of course, Mold Guy has an answer for everything and tells him he can explain it or get to work in a timely fashion for the parade. He is able to get a reading and cuts a huge chunk out of the wall and finds alternaria, another commonly found mold that can cause allergic reactions and lead to asthma.
You're not so tough now without your buddy Stacky Botris, are ya?
Stachybotrys goes by a more common name, black mold, and can be very dangerous. My old apartment in Las Vegas had an adjacent unit that tested positive for black mold, and I was informed around the same time I had fatigue issues and some health problems. Anyway, Hank starts to question this guy, saying the mold looks like dust. Mold Guy says the mold could have been there for 20 years. So why is it a problem now? On the other side of the wall, in Hank's room, they find more substantial evidence.
Remember that night I thought I heard something? And you said it was nothing? Well, thank you. You just signed my death warrant.
Is that so, Peggy? Funny, I remember it going like this.
Wake up, Hank. We're being burgled.
Huh?
And this.
Wait, I'm coming too.
A butcher's knife? All right.
And Hank begs the question that if they had this mold for the entire time, why haven't they had any issues?
Well, that's probably because the government hasn't found a scientific link between mold and any known health problems.
Good enough for me. GTFO, Mold Guy. When Hank asks why he keeps putting holes in his walls, well, Mold Guy, again, has an answer for everything.
Because I'm the hunter, and mold is my antelope.
Are you freaking kidding me? Mold Guy calls in the cavalry of mold hunters, and they start doing some massive overkill on preparing Hank's house for mold eradication. And yes, this happened to me too. Since my flooring was all one type throughout the house, the geniuses at the water mitigation company decided that all of my flooring needed to go and needed to pack up my entire house. Oh, and they assured me that insurance would cover it. Except when insurance got there, after they tore up the house, they said that they can only cover the area that was damaged. Anyway, back to the episode. Hank sees his house getting stripped away, and one guy comments,
Doghouse is hot. Aspergillus.
"What? The doghouse? The doghouse that we saw that one time when Bobby was living outside? And isn't there anymore? Crazy overkill." Hank tells everyone to leave, and he is ignored. Mold Guy tells Hank that if he really wants everyone to leave, his house will become worthless if he wants to sell. Hank corrects him, saying he wants to leave the house to his son.
Ooh, goody gumdrops. Thanks, Dad. A worthless mold house.
I use goody gumdrops sarcastically on a regular basis because of the show. Something good came out of it. I want to deck Mold Guy, though.
Do you have any pet birds, Mr. Hill?
No.
Good.
What a strange question, Mold Guy. You've already been throughout the house and you saw no bird. Also, isn't that what the grate is for? Whatever, that's a funny line. We had large fans in my home too, and they had to run for 3 days nonstop. So that includes all night. Man, that was annoying. So now the family has all been relegated to the living room. I'm not sure why that would be the case. As far as I know, the den hasn't been touched, so why can't they sleep in there? There's even a pull-out sofa. But unlike that non-existent pet bird, things really start to hit the fan the next morning while Hank is taking a shower.
Mr. Hill, you've got to get out.
Bah! You get out!
Your whole house is contaminated. The neg air environment's been compromised.
The what?
There's no time to explain how it wasn't my fault. Now move!
There's an emergency evacuation, and Hank is tossed out into the front yard in a hospital gown, just in time for the parade to arrive. Hank, of course, is unprepared, an uncharacteristic blunder on his part for getting the date, and the parade people just look on, obviously not understanding that the man was forcibly yanked from his home. And just before the end of the second act, Dale has to get a very con-like quip in.
Smile, Hank. I want to get a picture of you next to the mold.
You know, I've thought about this a lot, and Dale is not a good friend or person. I know he's a fan favorite character, and Lord knows I love him enough, but wow, he is a mean-spirited jerk just like Con. At the beginning of the third act, you see the Hill family moving into a crappy motel, presumably the best the insurance would put them up in. I'm not sure just how cheap Hank is, but surely he'd be more willing to put up some of his own money for nicer accommodations, or even stay with one of his neighbors. Never mind. And I guess everyone's so glum they're wearing entirely different outfits. They must have had to leave their main clothing at home for fumigation. Peggy's dress is nice here.
Hey, what do you know? Aaron Brockovich has got mold.
That is true. Aaron Brockovich, whose story was made famous by the 2000 film starring Julia Roberts, had a bad case of mold in her house. The mold, Stachybotrys, which is mentioned earlier, cost her over $600,000 to fix.
And Ed McMahon. Oh, it killed his dog Muffin.
Yikes! That explains the $7 million lawsuit. So, for some reason, Hank takes it upon himself to call his insurance over the mold in the motel. And the adjuster, rightfully, tells him there's nothing he can do. Why did he even call him for that? He should have been calling him demanding better accommodations. My family and I went to a new hotel after the first one was deemed inadequate. Anyway, the family hears their noisy neighbors.
They're arguing again, Hank. Or making love.
Is that what you wanted?
Making love.
Ew. The neighbor comes over and just opens their door and invites them over for lemonade. In fear of their lives, I presume, Hank politely declines and the man goes back to his room without even closing the door behind him.
Okay. Who's ready for Peggy Hill's coffee maker ramen, huh?
Okay, Peggy. A for effort, but at that point, y'all should have just gotten takeout. You're not a poor college student, and there's no reason for your family to live like one. Insurance should cover some of your food outings, especially since the place they stuck you in doesn't have a proper kitchen. I speak from experience. And in the establishing shot, we get a delightful callback to the Season 1 episode, Keeping Up with Our Joneses, where the family went to the cigarette support group. This was 7 seasons prior. If only the writers post-season 6 could keep this level of lore and consistency. Also loved the fact that it's practically on top of the train track to the right. In the early morning hours, the family is woken up by loud music.
You'd think music that loud would kill the bugs, but it doesn't.
That line is so funny to me. Bobby said he tried sleeping in the empty swimming pool, but can't because of the dogs. He wants to go home, conceding to wear one of the hazmat suits if he has to. Hank realizes that the sorry state of his situation has gone too far and resolves to fight for his home back, a la T. Anderson Kearney, the Texas revolutionary that doesn't exist.
Rob Holgan is gonna need to use this boot remover on his ass when I'm done with him.
Yes, Hank, yes! No more has there been an ass-kicking more deserved. Well, except this time. Hank goes to the office to confront Mold Guy and sees him, the insurance adjuster, and the mold tester all canoodling at lunch. And Hank very quickly surmises that they're all in this together. And, sadly, if my experience has taught me anything, this is 100% true. The plumber put me in contact with the water mitigation company and probably got a decent kickback for it, considering how big the job was. My flooring people were recommended to me by my insurance adjuster, and the floor guy put me in contact with the guy that built my new kitchen island, and come to think of it, I think that guy recommended the dude that installed my gutters. Now, I don't really have a problem with that in principle. But before I explain, let's see why. Hank tries to pay them off to get the clearance to move back into his house, but the ATM there only gives so much at a time. They explain,
Yeah, but it'll only let you take out $300 a day. That's just not gonna cut it.
Nope, not when you got a deal as sweet as ours. Heck, I could throw a dart at the phone book, and I bet you the house I hit would test positive for mold. And the phone book, too.
Okay, so there's why I don't have a problem with it in principle. Because, like the fine folks that removed my entire floor and removed and housed all of my furniture, they did do what they were supposed to do as far as mitigating the damages in my house, albeit in a dubious manner. The same goes for these douchers. Hank's house probably did have mold, but of course the real issue is that they did some massive overkill in getting it mitigated, also insurance could pick up the tab. And the insurance adjuster most likely gets a kickback for getting work for the contractors. It's all a crazy racket that both sides participate in. Okay, so yeah, never mind, I do kind of have a problem with it. That's just all kinds of messed up. Hank realizes it's a losing battle and that they'll squeeze every dime out of Hank's situation. He goes to the Megalo Mart for festive-looking pest strips and speaks to a surprisingly upbeat worker.
Oh, well, hell yeah. Dude, we got ones with snowflakes. We got ones with burrows on them. I mean, they're all pretty beautiful.
Nice that this employee didn't give Hank a hard time. While following him, he comes across some conveniently placed study guides for various contractor positions. Now, I'm pretty sure these are mostly just practice exams, but luckily for Hank, his mold guide comes with its own certification kit. We cut to Mold Guy's house feeding his pet, shark. I wanted a pet shark for years because of this episode. Why? I don't know. Hank comes to the house and brings Bill with him. I'm not going to put too much stock in how Hank found his house because Hank knows the man's name and we know that phone books exist still at this time. He's invited in, and Hank asks Mold Guy one more time to lay off his house. He refuses, saying he needs a new couch. Hank shrugs this off and tells Bill to get comfortable. As he's taking off his shoes, Hank casually explains that he became a certified mold expert.
Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, I just got myself certified as a trained mold expert. Took me 30 minutes.
Pretty sure it should take longer than that. Anyway, Mold Guy explains that he can't test his own house and expect insurance to cover. But Hank, in a 4D chess move, says he knows and that he'll test his house instead.
Bill, you ready?
Get ready.
Ew.
Yeah, pretty gross, huh? With the fungus and all. Hey, is fungus a mold? Let's find out.
Whoa there. Now take it easy. Okay, let's just talk about this. Hey, you're testing right near his feet.
Sorry, I'm new at this.
I love that. Hank explains that he'll send the findings to his insurance and they'll probably send someone out to poke some holes and possibly tear up some floorboards, earning a noticeable twitch from Mold Guy. Granted, I'm sure he could push back and demand a retest, but hey, if what Hank here says is true...
You know, I heard 9 out of 10 houses have mold.
Then it'll be on his housing and insurance record officially, and if he doesn't get rid of it, he may have difficulty selling the house, or his premiums will go up. Who knows? Mold Guy relents and finally gives the green light that Hank's house is now mold-free. He tries to leave, but Hank gently reminds him that his shenanigans cost him his chance to talk about his house in the parade of homes and demands that they stay and hear him talk about his house.
So if you'll just step this way, and I know you will, come on, Bobby, let's show him the house that's gonna be yours someday.
Lies, you're going to give it to Keith David while you live in Saudi Arabia, and Bobby will live with Joseph in a mid-apartment in Dallas, like I did.
You might want to put your case down. This is going to take a while.
And the two goons resigned themselves to listening to Hank's boring-ass story. Should have made the insurance adjuster listen in too. He's the guy that recommended them in the first place. Oh, and Hank should have kicked their asses on the way out. I'm going to pretend he did. The end. So, as mentioned before, we have another episode from the latter half of King of the Hill in which Hank consistently gets the short end. And before my own experience, I would have sworn that this was just a contrived piece of nonsense. But alas, this entire experience has taught me that this is one of the most frighteningly real depictions of insurance shenanigans. Now again, like the people that came to my house, the people in this episode did do what their jobs entailed them to do. The adjuster came in and checked the water damage, and he brought in his recommended vendors to test for mold. Then Mold Guy was brought in to find the source. And while he did find some evidence of mold, like he said, most houses do, and they don't all have to have a cavalry moved in. In fact, while not all houses have mold, all houses do have mold spores in the air, so this guy's job must be pretty easy. And while I'm not going to get too into the specifics regarding my situation, it is pretty clear that these people get most of their work paid for by insurance, and as such, since they're not dealing with homeowners with shallower pockets, they go all out as soon as they smell blood in the water. Mold in the air. And sadly, it came at the most inopportune time for Hank. But then again, it's all Hank's fault anyway. If he wasn't so insistent on hiding a few harmless troll dolls with that cabinet, this never would have happened. Okay, I'm kidding. Actually, come to think of it, was that even mold he found at first? I mean, if the leak was only there for a few hours, would mold even have time to cultivate? I wonder if that was even mold they initially found. The wiki states that it was a piece of dust. Also, if you're wondering why everyone was able to move into Hank's home so quickly without his consent, well, I'll direct you back to the medical question document that the mold guy made them sign. Contractors have to get signatures outlining the scope of work to be done and what may need to be done upon further inspection. So, effectively, in their panic, Hank and Peggy possibly consented to the cavalry being brought in. And poor Hank and his family have to hole up in a crappy motel. At least my family had decent accommodations. First, it was the Embassy Suites, but since we were out for more than a few days, we got another hotel that was outfitted with a proper kitchen and 2 bedrooms. It actually wasn't too bad. It was close to one of my kids' daycare. I got a Roku stick for the hotel so we could stream YouTube and our other favorite shows. I enjoyed a free breakfast every morning for a few weeks. Oh, and for some reason the AC mostly only worked in our bedroom, so it was super cold in there during the hot summer days. So I got some great sleep at night. I mean, every cloud has a silver lining. But unlike Hank, I at least had a net positive with this experience. I got a new floor that better suit my tastes. I got a new farmhouse sink, which I've always wanted and I'm totally obsessed with. And I got some other home improvement things out of the way while I was out, including my gutters and new insulation, which I paid for. And it costs only 5 weeks of my time and a lot of money that I wouldn't have spent otherwise. I do have to wonder if all of this unnecessarily harsh treatment of Hank in the latter half of the show is in response to how Hank was depicted in the earlier seasons. I know Hank found himself in a difficult situation in earlier seasons, but they were organic. It wasn't necessarily him getting dumped on because it was convenient for the plot. Well, what are you gonna do? And that was after the mold rush, a decent, albeit annoying episode where people of dubious means put Hank in a position he has to cleverly maneuver himself out of. I do wish that there was more punishment for the people that got him into that situation, but I understand there's not really much more that could be done. They did the job they said they were going to do, even if they had to exaggerate a situation where they could do it. They robbed Hank of the opportunity to talk about why he loves his house to other home enthusiasts, but in the end, he got to do just that to a less enthusiastic audience. This episode's beats were all done in a manner in which art imitates life. My life. Now, I don't normally do this, but if you liked the video, please comment, share, and subscribe. Sorry I have to do this, but, well...
I need the money.
Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Harvey McLeod, and I'm here to make videos for you, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.
Because I have been having really bad fatigue issues in the past few months. And that worries me, because black mold killed Brittany. Ah!